Operation Epic Fury.
Tonight, this story crosses the Rubicon. Not because of one bombing run, not because of another headline out of the Situation Room, and not even because Iran is suddenly begging President Trump to stop. The real bombshell is bigger than all of that. The Trump administration is no longer talking like White House is trying to negotiate a deal. It's talking like an America First administration preparing to impose an outcome. Bigger strikes, harder pressure, open discussion of Kharg Island, the regime's economic jugular. That's not diplomacy language, that is enforcement language. So the question tonight is simple. Did Tehran just run out of road? You see, for weeks, the storyline was very familiar. Apply pressure, keep negotiations alive, dangle an off-ramp, and wait for Iran to blink. But what we're hearing now from President Trump is something very, very different, and frankly, much stronger. We have reports of 49 Tomahawk missiles launched, fighter jets knocking out radar and air defense systems, and Trump saying there will be more bombing tonight, bigger, more powerful. Then came the line that changed everything. His preference has always been to take Kharg Island. That matters because Kharg Island's not just a dot on a map, it's one of the central arteries of Iran's oil export system. In other words, this is no longer just about punishing bad behavior. It appears to be about controlling the regime's ability to finance its survival. See, that's the pivot. The Trump administration seems to be saying the season of waiting is over, and if the mullahs will not accept reality at the table, reality is about to be delivered them another way. As we talk about pressure, resilience, and getting your strength back, let me tell you about something that hit home for me personally. So you've probably seen the clip, Joe Rogan sitting with Mel Gibson talking about people close to him who went through serious health struggles, and then saw dramatic turnarounds. Rogan brings up red light-based therapies and how they impact the body at a cellular level. Gibson says it straight, this stuff works. You see, that got my attention because in my own life, I watched something very similar unfold. For a long time, my wife was dealing with constant discomfort and anxiety. It was one of those situations where you just want answers. And then I found red light therapy through Jonathan Otto. We started learning more, and it made a real impression, real results. If you want to check it out, go to myredlight.com. Use NNN25 for individual items or NNN30 for bundles. Now back to the story, because what Team Trump is signaling tonight should have every America First viewer paying very close attention. See, here's the twist that matters most after the sponsor break. Even if bombs stop for a night, the pressure does not. One Trump post indicated scheduled strikes were canceled after top-level discussions, but the naval blockade remains fully in force until any transaction is finalized. Translation? This is no ceasefire story. This is leverage, stacked on leverage, military pressure, economic strangulation, blocked ports, seized accounts, and now open talk of controlling Kharg Island itself. That's why the tweets you're about to see are not random updates. They are markers of a brand new phase. So the U.S. is seizing Kharg Island and Iran's oil, according to President Trump. Eric Doherty reporting he's doing it. Iran will be hit very hard tonight. At some point in the not-too-distant future, we'll be taking Kharg Island and other oil infrastructure points and assume total control of their oil and gas markets, like we have with Venezuela. Listen.
Going through in the Gulf of Oman after the crew repeatedly failed to comply with directions.
And our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yinks, is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. The United States military unleashing powerful strikes overnight against the Iranian regime. President Trump exclusively telling Fox News in a phone call from the Situation Room that 49 Tomahawk missiles were launched at targets across Iran. One of those targets just 40 miles outside the capital of Tehran. We also know that other targets were hit along the southwestern coast of the country. The president says we hit them very hard tonight and described the strikes as violent and vicious. President Trump also giving some new insight into the behind the scenes of what was taking place during those hours. He was in the Situation Room with Vice President J.D. Vance and Special Envoys Kushner and Witkoff when the phone rang. It was the Iranians, President Trump says, on the other end calling on him to stop the bombing. He said he'll stop the bombing if they sign the agreement that is currently on the table. And again, the latest information that we have, the Iranians did respond to those U.S. strikes overnight against their country. They launched ballistic missiles and drones at Gulf countries, including Bahrain and Kuwait, and even as far as Jordan. The Jordanian army says they shot down 20 incoming ballistic missiles. Guys?
So Trey, right now, we're to believe with the time shifting that we're shaping the battle, it seems, using your term and at the military term, in order to hit them much harder, take down, blind them, and then have your way with them. So do you believe today it will be an escalation, or is, when you say continuing to bomb, was that yesterday?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I spoke with the president, I asked him what happens if the Iranians don't sign the deal. And he said, we'll bomb the S out of them tomorrow night. So the
I can say it now. Something you didn't know. We've been taking out millions of barrels of oil. Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now. We took out the other night 22 ships, late at night with no lights, because they don't have any radar, because we blasted the crap out of it. We took out, that's why oil's $85 a barrel.
That's why oil's at $85 a barrel. So after the oil admission, the pressure gets even more direct. Next, Trump says Iran actually called him from the middle of the bombing campaign, begging for it to stop. Trump Daily Post, Iran begging Trump to stop. In the Situation Room, J.D. Vance overseeing the bombing. 49 Tomahawk missiles already flown. Iran called, begging for mercy. Trump is in full beast mode.
Currently in the Situation Room with Vice President J.D. Vance, along with Special Envoys Kushner and Witkoff. The president giving new insight into what is taking place as we speak. There is an ongoing bombing campaign against the Iranian regime. The president tells Fox News that 49 Tomahawk missiles were used to hit targets inside of Iran, some of them as close as 40 miles from the Iranian capital of Tehran. The president said that U.S. fighter jets are also operating over the skies of Iran, taking out radar systems and air defense systems in the southwestern part of the country, close to the Persian Gulf. This is all taking place as the Iranians are trying to get the United States to stop the bombing campaign. President Trump told me that Iran called him tonight. Top Iranian officials and President Trump spoke directly, according to the commander-in-chief tonight, as the president was sitting in the Situation Room. And he told me that the Iranians asked them to stop bombing. And the president said to me, the bombing will stop shortly. I asked him what will happen if the Iranians do not sign an agreement that was put forward by American negotiators. President Trump said, quote, we'll bomb the S out of them tomorrow night.
So Iran's on the phone asking for relief while Trump's in the Situation Room. Next, he makes it plain more bombing is coming. It'll be bigger and more powerful.
Will there be more bombing tonight?
Yeah, there will be more bombing tonight. It'll be bigger, more powerful. Don't forget, we've knocked out all of their anti-aircraft. They don't have any they have nothing. I mean, they may get lucky with a shoulder weapon or something, but for the most part, they have no defense.
What did the representative say in your phone call with them?
Excuse me. They're finished. But the papers, the media refuses to write it. They're finished. We can walk in there tomorrow. We could take soldiers. I don't want to have boots on the ground, but if I wanted to, we could put a small group of soldiers and take over the whole place. They're finished. And the media is crooked. They're just like our elections. The media is crooked.
And that is why the Next News Network exists. So Trump just warned the regime the next wave would hit even harder, but he also draws a line here between the mullahs and the Iranian people. My message to the Iranian people is they're afraid because they have no guns. And the other side has guns, and they have a rally, they get shot. Trump expressed sympathy for the Iranian people while discussing the U.S. pressure campaign against Tehran. So after making clear I think we can go actually to the source. Okay, here we go.
And the one thing you brought up yesterday is it's going to be bridge and power plants next. Is that next? Yeah,
but I'd rather not do it because once you do that, the people suffer. Mm-hmm. Like I heard you mentioning water. water is really a devastating loss for them. I could do that in 1 minute. They knock out the.
What is your message to the Iranian people?
But the problem is the people won't be able to drink water. I mean, what are they going to do?
But what is your message to the Iranian people, Mr. President? They now have the internet.
Well, my message to the Iranian people is they're afraid because they have no guns, and the other side has guns, and they have a rally and they get shot. They hung the wrestler and his two friends. They hung him from a crane, believe it or not, violently. He was a very top wrestler, and they hung him. They've killed at least 40 to 50,000 people. And the people are afraid. You know, when you have a machine gun staring you in the face, or when you have 4 snipers on 4 different buildings shooting people in the head, it's hard to have a rally, okay?
So President Trump making it clear. And then he said this: the Kurds intercepted U.S. weapons meant for the Iranian protesters trying to break free. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Sorry. This thing keeps jumping around on me. Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. The Kurds intercepted U.S. weapons meant for Iranian protesters trying to break free from the regime and kept them. He says the Kurds let us down.
Now there's 2, 3, 4 people laying down alongside of you with a bullet in their brain, and they run. I can't blame them. Who's going to blame them for that?
So can you get them weapons, Mr. President? Can you get them weapons?
Provide air cover?
Well, we actually sent them weapons, and we were very disappointed by the Kurds, to be honest with you. The Kurds let us down. I disagreed with the decision. You know, I was saying, no, I don't believe they'll deliver them. I think they kept them for themselves. I think it's a disgrace. But I'll remember that, Kurds. I'll remember that. But they have some guns, but, you know, they don't have the weapons. Look, even if they had some, they're petrified.
So that's a serious betrayal in the middle of a pressure campaign. Next, Trump goes right back to the preferred objective of taking Kharg Island and crushing Tehran's leverage. Confirms he intends to seize Iran's Kharg Island and Iranian oil infrastructure. FAFO is playing out.
Decimated, just decimated, and they're dying to make a deal. They want to make a deal so badly. And they're really in submission. They just don't know it yet. Okay, to be honest with you. They just don't know it yet. And we are talking to them and all. But, you know, look, my preference has always been take Kharg Island.
Meanwhile, new video from CENTCOM shows U.S. forces firing Hellfire missiles at tankers trying to move Iranian oil. It's the 3rd ship disabled this week as the U.S. continues to squeeze Tehran's economy. We have team coverage.
So Kharg Island isn't just talk anymore. Trump says it's been his preference all along. Now Nikki Haley jumps in and backs the harder line while warning China and Russia are helping keeping the regime alive. Nikki Haley says Trump's right. We are crushing Iran into dust.
Reality is Iran never had any intentions of negotiating. I mean, they've done this so many times. They stall, they make you think they're going to do something, you know, right when you think you've got a deal, they throw cold water on it. And then the whole time they're strategizing, they're rebuilding, they're starting to build back up to get ready for the next strike. And we know they have excavated 50 of the 69 tunnels that they had missiles in. Now, that doesn't build back up their force a lot, but it does allow them to just fight another day. They're willing to go through a lot of pain, and they don't want to go back to the pre-war status of the Strait of Hormuz. And I think Trump was right to absolutely say we're going to hit them, especially after they've gone after us. But let's take it a step further and go after China and Russia. China's providing man pads to Iran in this fight. Russia's providing drones. They both have provided satellite imagery in this to go after our bases. When we go after China and Russia and hold them accountable and tell them to stop, that's when we'll start to really see Iran get weakened.
So Haley says Iran was never serious about peace and only understands force. Then you see what it looks like on the ground. New bombing footage out of Tehran province. Take a look at some of this footage. New video. So that's just some of the footage coming out of Tehran right now. The smoke plumes are the visual proof what sustained pressure looks like. Next comes the financial knockout punch, as Scott Bessent says damage to Gulf allies will be paid for with seized Iranian funds. Treasury Secretary Bessent stunning the world. Any damage Iran does to the Gulf nations will be repaired using Iranian funds seized by the U.S. from Iranian accounts. This man is legitimately an economic assassin. Nobody wants to be on his bad side. Listen.
The economic side in terms of what we've done, and a big mistake that the Iranians made was attacking their GCC neighbors, their neighbors in the Gulf, because we had many very good allies who maybe weren't completely transparent with us on the money, Iranian money that was in their banking systems, all of a sudden became very compliant in terms of being willing to turn over accounts or help us freeze, block accounts. And then the third part was the incredible blockade. I really think it's the economic blockade of funds and the physical blockade of the ships not going in or out of the Iranian ports. Kharg Island is shut down. That's their big oil loading facilities, and that means that they're going to have to start taking down the wells soon.
Now, a lot of people have asked me recently.
So they're going to start having to take down the wells. It's not just missiles and blockade, it's economic warfare. Kharg being choked off next. CENTCOM says targeting has only gotten sharper and Iran can't rebuild what we destroy. Laura Loomer says at CENTCOM, I asked Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, in the event of Iranians keep playing games and they refuse to come to the table to make a deal, how certain are you in your targeting ability to immediately find and finish off and execute every remaining senior leader within the Islamic Republic of Iran and IRGC?
So in the event that the Iranians don't come to the table and they keep playing games and they refuse to make a deal, how certain are you on our targeting ability to immediately find and finish off and execute every remaining senior leader within the Islamic Republic of Iran and IRGC?
Well, let's just say this command has used the ceasefire wisely and with great efficiency to ensure that we are refining our intelligence and target sets in a way that are far beyond even the beginning of Epic Fury. And that's a part of what I had a chance to see today. So when you see the commencement of Epic Fury, if a conflict were to have to recommence, our ability to target, our ability to sense, our ability to see, our ability to get into networks has only been vastly improved over time. So, and that's certainly what the commanders relayed to me. So the historic success of Epic Fury would only be built upon, whether it's personnel, locations, capabilities, you name it. And again, remember, Iran doesn't have a defense industrial base, and what they have is extremely limited, meaning they don't have the ability right now to make more missiles or make more drones. What they have is what they have, and if they've dug it out, we'll strike it again if we need to. So we know the terms, and we've got always more capability to bring.
So if Iran thought a pause brought breathing room, they may have misread the room. Up next, reports say even Russia is warning Tehran may be preparing a military move around Kharg Island. Russia announced that it has received reports indicating that Iran is preparing for a potential military operation targeting Kharg Island. So Kharg is back in focus. The maritime question gets bigger fast. CENTCOM answers directly that the Strait of Hormuz is open. Iran does not control it. That is the official declaration from U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM. Strait of Hormuz is open for transit. Safe pathways are established for commercial vessels transiting the strait. The pathways are available to all vessels not violating the blockade against Iran. Hundreds of ships have transited in the last 2 months. U.S. forces are postured to defend against Iranian aggression. Iran does not control the Strait of Hormuz. So CENTCOM putting Tehran on notice that the shipping lanes may stay are open under American protection. Now, Trump says the planned strikes are canceled for the night while the naval blockade stays in place. He just posted this. Based on the fact that discussions with the Islamic Republic of Iran have been brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and approved, I have, as President of the United States of America, canceled the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran this evening. Discussions and final points have been, in both concept and great detail, approved by all parties involved, including the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, and others. The naval blockade will remain in full force and in effect until this transaction is finalized. Time and place of the signing to be announced shortly. President Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. And that's the leverage play in full view. Pause the bombing, keep the blockade force the regime to choose. Meanwhile, over at CNN, the Pentagon lockdown panic today turns out to be a false alarm. If you didn't hear about this, the Pentagon was on lockdown, of course, with Iranian tensions. Everyone is on high alert.
Tasha, I know you've been working your sources. What are they saying about what happened?
Yeah, Dana, so sources are now telling my colleagues Haley Britsky and Pamela Brown that this does appear to have been a false alarm. Now, leading up to all of this, of course, the Pentagon was taking extreme precautionary measures to ensure that there was actually no threat to people inside the building. There were hazmat teams on site because there was an air quality issue that was detected on multiple floors of the Pentagon and multiple corridors that were then evacuated. But now we're being told that this was all precautionary and that as of right now, field tests have not detected that there was an actual threat in the air and that the entire thing does appear to have been a false alarm. But we should note that the Pentagon Force Protection Agency's Hazardous Materials Response Team showed up in force along with the Arlington Fire Department to ensure that there was no threat. And now we're being told that people are beginning at least to stand down. But of course, they take these situations extremely seriously because if there was some kind of airborne threat, obviously that would pose a huge risk to the thousands and thousands of people that work inside that building every day.
So the corporate media chases the Pentagon scare that went nowhere. The real action is on Iran next. Markets react. Trump announces imminent signing and says tonight's strikes are off for now. President Trump announces imminent signing on a deal with Iran. U.S. stocks are surging. Oil prices are plummeting after President Trump announced a signing on Iran's negotiation is imminent. Tonight's planned strikes have been canceled. The positive market reaction reflects growing confidence that the deal is near. Trump maintains full leverage and is prepared to strike again if Iran plays any more games.
Social, based on the fact that discussions with the Islamic Republic of Iran have been brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and approved, writes President Trump, I have, as President of the United States of America, canceled the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran this evening. Discussions and final points have been, in both concept and great detail, approved by all parties involved, including the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, and others. The naval blockade will remain in full force and effect until this transition is finalized. Time and place of this signing to be announced shortly. So we will see if we hear directly from the president here in the next few moments. If we could pop up the big board as well, while we're seeing oil prices come down on this news out of the White House, watch this.
Getting bigger.
Look at that U.S. stock market spike on the news.
Two things I think are different this time, right? Those four dreaded words on Wall Street. One is...
So the U.S. stock market, oil prices, all returning and reacting to the news. So what does it really mean? It means that the center of gravity has moved from persuasion to compellence. President Trump's drawing a sharp line between the Iranian regime and the Iranian people, making clear the target is the tyrants and not the nations held hostage by them. At the same time, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is signaling that any damage Iran causes in the Gulf can be paid for with Iranian funds seized by the United States. CENTCOM is reminding the world the Strait of Hormuz stays open for lawful transit. Put that together and the message is unmistakable. America is not asking Tehran for permission anymore. The Trump administration appears to be building a system where every refusal, every attack, every delay brings harsher military and economic consequences until the regime either folds or is functionally boxed in. So this is why tonight matters. The establishment media will fixate on missile counts, anonymous sources, and side drama like the Pentagon false alarm, but the bigger truth is right in front of us. President Trump looks like he has concluded that the deal track has reached its limit, and now the objective is to force the regime into a corner it cannot escape. That is what America First leadership looks like. That is the MAGA doctrine in action: strength, clarity, and consequences. Not apologies, not endless talks while terrorists buy time. Not weakness disguised as sophistication. If Kharg Island remains the conversation, then this is about the economic lifeline of the regime, and that changes the entire equation. The mullahs can beg, stall, threaten, and posture all they want. The question now is whether they can survive what comes next. If you agree that President Trump is finally making Iran face real consequences, share this report, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and answer this yes or no question. Should the Trump administration keep escalating pressure until Tehran fully surrenders? Let's have a conversation. And let's stay connected too. All you got to do is join the thousands of patriots who've already made that decision to text the words raw feed to the number on the screen, 844-840-4963. We're bypassing the middleman, cutting out YouTube notifications directly. I've heard your cries, I've seen your comments, and I've seen what you've said. We're going direct to you from Next News Network to your phone. All you got to do is text those words to that number, and we will ensure you get the news that you depend on. And since we're celebrating, let's go ahead and celebrate together. America 250 is upon us. Yes, around the corner. It's going to come up quick. So let's make sure that you are ready. Make sure you get to the Next News merch shelf below this video or at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Pick up some gear and let's celebrate together.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this. Share this now.